This is Electronic Gaming Monthly, issue 31, February 1992. A Street Fighter II collector's issue with a chance to win a Street Fighter II arcade machine. And other prizes, including the game on Super Nintendo, a Street Fighter II t-shirt, and a Street Fighter II poster. I really like the cover on this issue. It's Ken fighting on Blanca's stage from the arcade. As I was going through this issue, I noticed a lot of contests for prizes such as the NES Treasure Master contest, to win your own game room, or an official NFL football personally signed by Joe Montana. I'm not going to show every part of this magazine, just the interesting sections that I thought I'd show here. At the time this magazine was released, US gamers were waiting for a release date for the Sega CD. It was typical to see questions in these magazines about importing consoles. Like this one here asking if the Mega CD will play US games if they import it. I always like reading the mail section from these old retro gaming magazines. The console war talks between gamers in these magazines usually makes an appearance, and it's always funny to go back and read them. Like this one here telling Sega Genesis owners to give it up, that their system is puny, saying they have all the great companies working for them like Konami and Capcom, and of course they always gotta mention specs, asking Genesis players, where's your Mode 7? And here we have a Sega fan saying the Genesis is #1 and the Mode 7 on Super Nintendo is a joke, saying the Super Nintendo specs are overhyped, and ending with, where is your CD-ROM? I really can't say what system is better. I owned both as a kid and I never really picked a side. But I felt the Super Nintendo usually had better graphics and sound. But I still like the Sega Genesis a lot and its arcade type games that never made it to the Super Nintendo. Here's an ad for the Terminator game. I didn't know the timeline for this game took place in 2029. I guess we got a few years left. This person here wrote in saying they heard Street Fighter II and Castlevania were coming to the Genesis. I remember hearing about this, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought Street Fighter II was only going to be on the Super Nintendo. Here's a review for Back to the Future 3 on the Genesis. As you can see, it didn't do too well, only getting 3 3s and 1 4. One reviewer says this cart needs work, there isn't enough action, and the gameplay leaves a lot to be desired. Another one here says Back to the Future 3 should go back to programmers, the graphics look good, but that's only when the game is paused. The animation is choppy and the sounds are definitely substandard. And Back to the Future 3 is a disappointment from start to finish. The character control is so horrible, scenes that should be simple become overly frustrating. Here's one for the turbo graphics, Darkwing Duck. This one, like Back to the Future, gets 3 3s and 1 4. One reviewer says Darkwing Duck put me to sleep with the lack of interaction and challenge. The graphics are choppy and the play control really needs work. If you're going to make a game based on a popular character, at least make it playable. And last, I think Darkwing Duck should stick to cartoons. The game is too slow, the gameplay offers no excitement, no ingenuity, and no fun. Damn. This gaming gossip section mentions Sega could be working on a super game module that allow the Genesis to do even more incredible things? Is that the 32X? This next section talks about the protection circuitry added to the Genesis, and apparently there's 2 Model 1 Sega Genesis out there, and that the earlier model won't play certain third-party games. I don't remember this, but I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more. These next 8 pages are just a Neo Geo ad talking about how better their console is than anything at the time, including screenshots from some of their games, a spec sheet comparing the other consoles, and previews for upcoming games. I don't know anyone that owned this console, and I like their games and I played them in the arcades. But as everyone knows, it's very expensive. Even today, a used console and their games are still a high price. Here's an advertisement for the Ninja Turtles and their new game, Back from the Sewers. This Street Fighter section talks about the rumors of Shenlong way back in the arcades. I think you had to have a perfect game all the way through, beating M. Bison at the end. without taking a single hit. Other rumors mentioned here are Chun-Li throwing her bracelets, I remember that, Guile throwing his comb, Blanka spinning electric ball, I don't remember that, Ken or Ryu's more powerful fireball, which was just a color glitch, and Dalsum's heat-seeking fireball. And of course, nobody has any proof of this. It's always someone who has a friend that claimed they've done it. And here's an advertisement for Beetlejuice on the Game Boy, just in time for the new movie released in theaters later this year. And here's some nice artwork for Golden Axe 2 on the Sega Genesis. The rest of the magazine is just advertisements, preview sections, and more advertisements. Nothing really interesting. And that's it. The end.